In this video, we are going to run a PHP script against two versions of PHP, 8 and 7. This script contains str starts with, which is a function introduced in PHP version 8. So this script will be running successfully in PHP version 8, but it will fail miserably in PHP version 7. Now we are going to require a mystery package and run again our code in PHP version 7. The code that failed miserably is now working like a charm. So what is this component and how to use it in a project? So let's create a project. We are going to create a new folder. So mkdir polyfill demo, and then let's cd this folder and init a composer project. So composer var init. This will initiate a composer project for us. We are going basically to hit enter for all the questions asked for us, and then we are going to have a proposal by composer for our composer.json file. We are going to say yes for that, and that will generate for us a simple composer project with vendor, folder, src, and composer.json. Now we are going to open that with PHP store. Alright, now we have our project opened in PHP store, which, as I said, contains an empty src folder and a vendor folder and composer.json. Now let's write our simple script. Let's name it, we're going to create a new PHP file. Let's name it polyfill test.php. Within this PHP file, I'm going to execute a very simple PHP script, but before, let's require once our composer autoload, so current directory, and then vendor, and then autoload.php. That's why we guarantee that all of our components that will be downloaded by composer are required and we can use them. Then I'm going to create a very simple script that will do an if str starts with hello world hello, which basically says that if my string hello world starts with hello, I'm going to echo yes. Let's go back to line, else I'm going to echo no, and let's go back to line again. So this is a fairly simple script. The important function over here is str starts with, as it's a function introduced in PHP version 8 and it is not available in older versions like PHP version 7, for example. So we are going to try and run this script on two PHP versions. The first one will be 8.0 and the second one will be 7.1. To have different PHP environments, I'm going to create a Docker Compose file. So I'm going to use Docker to have two containers, basically one running PHP 8 and the other one running PHP 7.1. So I'm going to create a Docker compose.yaml file, and within this Docker compose.yaml, I'm going to define two services. The first one will be named PHP 71, which will contain PHP 7.1, and the second one will be named PHP 18, which will contain PHP 8.0. I'm going to map the current directory to /app within my containers. So each time I make a modification in my project, it will be reflected in /app within my containers. Let's try and run those two services, which will create for us two containers. We will do that by docker compose app -d, so it will be running in the background. Here Docker will be pulling the images and creating the containers for us. We can check if we have the services running by executing docker compose ps to see, and yes, we have two services. The first one is PHP 71 and the second one is PHP 80, and they have been running for 20 seconds approximately. So now we can get within those two services and verify the PHP version. So I'm going to create two terminals over here. The first one, I'm going to name it PHP 7.1, and the second one is PHP 8.0. Now let's get back to the PHP 7 container and check if we have PHP version 7. So I'm going to execute the docker compose command, docker compose exec, and then PHP 71, which is the name of my service, and then bash, which is the command that I want to execute inside my container. So I will be having a terminal inside my PHP 7 container, and here I can check my version by executing PHP v, which will give me 7.1. So I do have PHP version 7. I'm going to do the same for PHP version 8. So docker compose exec, and then PHP 18, and then bash. Let's verify the version, PHP v, and it gives me PHP version 8. So I have two versions of PHP running over here, and I will be running my script against each one of those versions. Let's start with PHP version 8, which should not cause problems for me. So I'm going to execute PHP app and then src polyfill test, and it shows me yes, which is good because my script tests whether hello world starts with hello, and it indeed starts with that. So I'm seeing yes. But if I execute this in PHP version 7.1, what I will be getting, so PHP app and then src and then polyfill test, I will be getting an error saying that my function str starts with is not defined. So PHP is saying call to undefined function str starts with in, and then my PHP file. So how can we solve this? How can I have my str starts with, which is introduced in PHP version 8.0, run in PHP 7.1 by using Symfony's polyfill component? So this component will basically make sure that my script, even if it uses the latest PHP core functions, is still running in older PHP versions, which is amazing. So let's go back to our console, and then we are going to require this Symfony component and see if it will solve the problem for us or no. So we are going to require that by composer. So composer file, and then require Symfony, and then polyfill PHP 80. So Symfony has many polyfill components, and what we want here is the polyfill for PHP version 8.0, which means that it will give us all the functions that are in PHP 8.0 and not available for older versions. So let's execute this, and now composer have downloaded this dependency for us, and simply go back to PHP version 7.1 and re-execute this command, and yes, it is working. So thank you Symfony for having this component for us. Thanks to this component, we are having our code working on PHP version 7, even though we don't have this function str starts with in our PHP version. And if you are curious on where this function does exist, you can see in vendor, and then Symfony polyfill PHP 18, and then bootstrap.php. You will find that somewhere in this file we are checking if this function str starts with exists or no. If it does not exist, we are defining it. So thanks to this check over here, we have the str starts with defined for us. Thank you all for watching. I will be asking questions as usual by the end of this video, so you can provide answers in the comments section, and see you in videos to come. Bye bye.